Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Hope and Coffee, where we discuss just things going around on the internet, things going on in my brain, and all the fun stuff like that. Today, I kind of wanted to bring up a topic that I ran across, and it was I don't know if anyone knows, I'm fairly certain you guys do, but it can be very interesting. Reddit's sub, I guess it's a subreddit. Um, Called Am I the Asshole? And I like running across this particular thing because people come to the internet asking, they pose the situation, pose the question, and they just say, hey, do you feel I was in the right or in the wrong with regards to this situation? And the internet's pretty transparent when it comes to justifying why the person is not an asshole. So sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And a lot of times, now they're probably getting some bad advice anyway from people on the internet. There are a lot of trolls. However, some people really do try to offer some fairly good perspective into why they are or are not, or why other people in a situation may be or may not be, or why no one really is, or why everyone is. So, I kind of enjoy it because it just shows different perspectives and how people think about those perspectives. And I ran across one that I thought was very interesting about a guy whose niece asked for a job referral, and he declined because he didn't feel that she was competent in what she was asking him for a referral for. And so I'm not going to read the whole statement. I'm not going to read the whole situation, but apparently she was laid off work, just downsizing, it sounds like. They were at a family dinner. She asked if he would be willing to give her a job referral, possibly to his company. He said, sure, but I want to ask you a few questions for your knowledge base to see if I feel like you'd be a good fit. All that to say, she wasn't able to produce a very good answer unless he gave her a hint and gave her an excessive amount of time to provide this answer. And so then he was deemed the a-hole per his sister and the niece because he wasn't going to help her get the referral. He was not going to give her one because he didn't feel like her knowledge level was there. And that's just me reading it. And I think, my personal thought, is that he was not the asshole. Like, one particular person on Reddit thinks that he was behaving very arrogantly. However, I am in a position where I get people who ask me pretty frequently if I could give them a job referral, if I think they'd be a good fit to come work at the office I work at. And sometimes I really have to think about it because there are a lot of different stipulations and factors that go into whether I want to throw your name in the hat for coming to work, possibly, or even interviewing at my company. And so I kind of feel like in this particular perspective that he was actually not. He was not acting arrogantly, that he was actually trying to do what a job interviewer would have done, or, it would have shown on his head as well, um, her lack of ability if he had given her a referral depending on his position. So I think that's where the line can sometimes be blurred a little when it comes to these sort of referrals, because family almost kind of feels like, well, that's kind of nepotism in a lot of ways. Is if she failed to answer in a timely manner, then that would show that she is not up to the standard of that position. However, this particular individual who was telling this guy that giving her a question related to the job was reasonable, but he came up with a random question to test her intelligence, totally unrelated to the job. Well, how do we know fully if it was unrelated to the job? We don't know what he does in the office to know if what he was like the question. To my knowledge, I don't see the question he asked her. But he didn't want to take the risk if he did refer her, as their interviews are usually pretty easy, and it looks like almost all candidates who are referred can often get hired. But then if she performed badly in the job function, it would reflect badly on him. Um, Now, again, I'm in a position where I've been asked to give referrals for people, and sometimes I do ask them their skill set, ask them how their life skills have led towards this opportunity, what is their educational level as well. And I really don't know. Like, okay, so he did say finally that he did ask a question that it was not related to the job, but he still thought it had a good way to test one's knowledge or intelligence. Okay, well, reading that final sentence of, I know the question I ask is not related to the job, but I still think it's a way to test one's intelligence, that's probably where the arrogancy comes from. If he had asked something related to the job, related to what her function could be in the office, that could have been different. But it sounds as though he asked a job not related to the function, or asked a question not related to the function, and that may have been where the arrogance comes from. So I can see why Reddit would pounce. So I think maybe if he had tailored his question to the job, such as an interviewer would have done, then he probably would have not come across as the a-hole, because it does sound like maybe he was not actually leaning towards giving her a referral if he's going to ask her something arbitrary. So again, there are two sides to every story. We are only really getting his perspective on the story. I would love to know if she would just apply to that job anyway, or apply to a position, or if he'd be willing to reconsider his referral should he actually give her, like, should the internet come back, say he's the a-hole, and then actually ask her about her knowledge and skill set related to the job. Because if she has some skill set and she's worked in the field, then it's very possible that she may have the knowledge that they're looking for, but it doesn't sound as though that's what he focused on. It sounds as though he did kind of go off script a bit. I know, again, when I ask people questions, I try to stick very relevant to the function. Like, okay, what are you interested in? And then ask them how their skill set would fit into the role, knowing what I know about some of the requirements for those positions. So if someone wanted to talk to victims or something like that, then they would need a certain level of skill, certain background, and they would need to probably have some sort of educational knowledge in therapy, counseling, that sort of thing, have some experience with that. It's not something you can just go into because you want to help people. It is a great thing to want to do to help people, but it's not the foundation for being able to go into that position. So usually I would tell people, if that's what they're looking for, they may want to start looking at ways to build that skill set in order to be able to talk to it in a job interview, on a resume, and then to succeed in that role without feeling overwhelmed. Because I know it can be a very overwhelming role if you're not adequately prepared. So I think now that I've read that final sentence, because I think I might have missed that earlier, maybe he was being arrogant, and maybe he was being kind of a bit of an a-hole. Now, I'm not saying it's his role, like in the company. Maybe he just didn't want to look bad if he brought someone in, but that's where you, if you're actually wanting, like, to give this person a chance, ask them questions related to the job function, ask them related to the role, and test their skill set against the requirements of the role, but don't just arbitrarily ask them a question that you just feel just tests intelligence. Because, like, again, I work in an office, but someone then asking me about a bookkeeping program would not be relevant to me because I don't do bookkeeping. I have a different role. So someone asking me an arbitrary question about bookkeeping, if it's not related to the role, would not be ultimately relevant because that is not part of the function. Anyway, I would love to know what you think with regards to this, or just referring family or friends in general to maybe your place of work. Have you done it? Has it worked out? Has it not? And what do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like it's a sense of nepotism? Because this person said, well, if we refer them, they're automatically almost going to get like hired in. So I don't know if he was trying to do a CYA and maybe just kind of nip it in the bud. Maybe he really wasn't interested in trying to get this individual on board or give her a chance at coming on board. But I would love to know what you think. So thank you so much for tuning in. I think at this time we can definitely say that he was not on his niece's side. Was he the a-hole? It sounds like it with regards to the question. I was kind of on his side at first. However, when I realized he wasn't really asking questions related to the function, related to the job, that kind of pushed him over the edge. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.